Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of two albums or projects from Neil Mouth Sounds and Mouth Silence.
Neil Sissy McGee? Not a good name for your band.
That's like his name. That's like his real life human name.
Not a good name for your son.
I hate Cal Tuchesta. Neil is a Boston-based producer, singer, songwriter, keyboardist. He has other insane musical projects like Lemon Demon, and you might also know him if you are a Harry Potter fan because he is the creator of the Harry Potter Puppet Pals web show. He's a YouTuber, he's a musician, he's a Tumblrer, he's truly an artist of the internet age. But here in this review I'm talking about two recent musical projects of his, mashup projects, remix projects by the names of Mouth Silence and Mouth Sounds. Mouth Silence being more recently released, but is said to be a prequel to Mouth Sounds. I've never really heard of a musical prequel to an album, but there you go. On these sister mashup albums, Neil is essentially taking songs that are pre-existing, editing them or taking particular parts out of them and fusing them with pieces of other songs. And he is taking some serious compositional liberties in the process, not only editing, pitch shifting, or just altering the melody of the songs that he's remixing or mashing up, but at times adding original keyboards into the mix. Or sometimes it seems that he doesn't even need to do that and finds tracks that have common ground that I don't even think the most hardcore of music fans thought that they had. And then there's a third group of tracks on this LP where there's not really that much common ground. Neil seems to know that, yet he puts these two songs together anyway, and it sounds like garbage. There are some offenses on these mashup albums that are musical, but I think Neil's biggest offenses are to the sensibilities. I cannot imagine a mainstream music fan, a fan of some of the songs that Neil remixes and mashes up, sitting through some of the weirder parts on this record. And simultaneously, people who are serious music fans that might be a little bit of a snob, you might be into the experimentation and the oddity of these two remix albums, but sitting through them will mean listening to numerous renditions of Smash Mouth's All-Star. There is like an industrially tinged Nine Inch Nails style version of All-Star on this record. Neil fuses All-Star together with a pitch-shifted sample of the Full House theme song. He also fuses Daft Punk's Better, Harder, Faster, Harder, Better, Stronger with Walkin' on the Sun. He also puts All-Star perfectly over the piano chords from John Lennon's Imagine. Neil essentially, on Mouth Sounds, treats Smash Mouth like a big, awful musical meme. At its roots, the concept of what Neil is doing isn't altogether new. I mean, in the internet age, we have been exposed to many a mashup from mashup artists such as Girl Talk, or The Hood Internet, or Kids and Explosions, or Danger Mouse. But Neil's combination of songs on these records are so surprising and sometimes so sickening, I doubt you will find two mashup albums that will elicit as many emotions as these two will, and strong emotions at that. From pure bliss and enjoyability, to disgust, to hilarity. As Mouth Sounds starts, we get this faux a cappella rendition with samples coming from Smash Mouth's All-Star, specifically the part where the word "some" is sung right at the beginning of the track, and basically this sample is turned into its own unique, original, epic melody to kick the entire record off. Some, 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 some. And then begins a Smash Mouth mashup that I did not tell you about, and I didn't tell you about because it's scary. In kicks the iconic rhythm guitar from the Modest Mouse song Float On. And then, unsuspectingly, over it comes "Somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me." And the song fits perfectly overfloat on. Neil, at least to my ears, does not need to make any melodic adjustments whatsoever. Through the chorus, through the bridge of the song, the Smash Mouth whistle from All Star comes through and fits over the track. It's pure insanity. And then deeper into the record comes a mashup of Michael Jackson's Billie Jean and Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, which work together really well, with maybe the exception of the rhythm guitar from the Nirvana song, which doesn't seem to perfectly lock in with the groove of the bass line and the backing beat from Billie Jean. And then we get Loverboy's Workin' for the Weekend mashed together with Smashing Pumpkins' Bullet with the Butterfly Wings, and we get yet another perfect marriage of two songs that most music fans would assume come from very different places. And then there are tracks that just mashed up sound inexcusably terrible. There is the Black Eyed Peas with I'm a Bee pulled together with Let It Be, and it just sounds awful. I'm not even really sure if some of the synth melodies from I'm a Bee work melodically. And then there is Sexual Lion King, where we get Can You Feel the Love Tonight bunched together with Sexual Healing, the groove and the bass line and the rhythm guitar from Sexual Healing. And even if there is some melodic common ground between Elton John's voice and the Sexual Healing groove, the key that groove is in, Elton John's singing really sounds so much better with the strings from Can You Feel the Love Tonight sort of supporting his vocals. And there are some tracks on these two records that really aren't as much mashups as they are really weird pop culture references, like the song Furries, which takes the backing beat and guitar and the bop from the Hanson song Bop, and then throws Jimi Hendrix's Foxy Lady lead vocals on top of that. That and the lead guitars and the soloing that work into Foxy Lady actually pair together pretty well with the Bop backing beat. But Hendrix vocals are edited to kind of reference furry love, with a bunch of vocal cuts at the beginning of the track that reference furries and furry culture, and there we have Hendrix singing deeper into the track, "Excuse me while I kiss this fox." It is some serious rock god blasphemy. There's also tracks like Pokemon, where essentially we get, against the Jackson 5's ABC instrumental, a bunch of vocal cuts and snippets and references of news organizations and even Herman Cain talking about Pokemon. But there is one pop culture reference that rules them all on Mouth Sounds that I think is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and moving. It is a remix of the Tay Zonde song Chocolate Rain, where Neil takes Tay's lead vocals, samples them, and basically uses these samples to create sort of a slinky, cascading, echoed backdrop of all of these robotic, manipulated Tay Zonde voices backing him up. And the end result is really grandiose and actually puts on display the inner beauty of Chocolate Rain. Chocolate Rain. And much of what I've mentioned in this review thus far only comes off of the Mouth Sounds album. There is still yet the Mouth Silence album, and both of these mashup records are about an hour long. Now, for you anti-Smash Mouth people out there, this record does not really contain much in the way of Smash Mouth, so if you want to avoid all of the all-star remixes, then you should maybe just go straight to Mouth Silence. But I will say on Mouth Silence that there is more Third Eye Blind. Neil takes the do-do-do-do-do-do-do from Semi-Charmed Life and creates sort of like what he did with All-Star at the intro to Mouth Sounds on Mouth Silence. He creates a really beautiful, actually gorgeous intro where it's just very, very blissful, and these vocals are sort of pitch shifted and stretched out and really create this wonderful ascending, rising action of chorus vocals. It's really heavenly. And then right beyond that, we get this insane fusion of Rollercoaster of Love from the Ohio Players, bass guitar, rhythm guitar, drums, and the vocals from Nine Inch Nails' Closer. And what's even funnier is when Trent gets to the iconic line of "I wanna fuck you like an animal," Neil totally edits "fuck you" out and then throws in a vocal cut from a classic funk track. So you'll get Trent singing "I wanna," and then you'll get "burger like an animal." This is sort of swapped out for other samples deeper into the track, like "I wanna funk ya." There is a fusion of Elton John's Crocodile Rock and System of a Down's Chop Suey, and it feels like Neil, at least to my ears, has altered Serge's vocal melody a little bit to make it fit in with this Elton John track, and it works beautifully well. And then Neil puts together the score, the theme, the string theme from Psycho, the movie Psycho, with the B-52's Love Shack. Just the vocals. You're getting just the vocals and just the strings. And it's a completely unexpected mashup and combination, and the end result is frightening and actually makes the lead vocals from Love Shack sound absolutely insane and creepy. And given the plot of the movie Psycho, it actually brings new meaning to the song Love Shack. We also get REM's "It's the End of the World" and Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire," just the vocals of each track thrown on top of one another. And it's actually really interesting. Michael Stipe and Billy Joel actually sort of hit the same vocal tempo and pace on these two songs, and melodically they seem to have a lot in common as well. And Neil actually throws a bit of a polka type bass line behind these two vocals getting mashed up, and it just kind of works. But maybe my favorite mashup deep into this record, toward the back end of this record, comes on the song Numbers, where essentially we get a lot of samples from various pop tunes, one of them being Cake's Never There and Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe. We're getting a lot of samples having to do with calling, phone numbers, even No Doubt's Spiderwebs makes it into the mix too, and this really funny vocal cut of Corey Haim and Corey Feldman giving their numbers away to girls, there being some kind of hotline where you can call to talk to Corey Haim or Corey Feldman. Past this, I am almost emotionally moved by the song Wonderwall, where Neil takes the iconic Oasis song Wonderwall, and he seems to grab an acoustic cut of the track, rips the guitars off that, takes an isolated vocal from the song itself, and then seems to toy and just manipulate this voice over these guitars as the guitars stay really steady and consistent as one would expect them to be throughout the song. But he takes this vocal, and I can't even explain it. I just have to kind of I just have to kind of show you right here, to be honest. I gotta be honest, I love these two albums. I've been listening to these two albums, I think, way more than I should have over the past, week or so. And it's to the point where it's really annoying my significant other. And it's because when I listen to these records, I really run the gamut of emotion. I am angered, I am disgusted, I am thoroughly enjoying myself, I am laughing at some points. Namely, one point on Mouth Silence where we get the first few bars of the Friends theme song, and when the claps come up, Neil syncs up the ooh wah. It's moments like that that really make me die a little on the inside and laugh at the world of music burning. But I love these records. I love how technically intricate they are and how perceptive Neil is at pulling these songs together and finding what works, what doesn't, and just making these songs so harmonious. He's not this guy who's going to remix just some guy rapping over a beat construed out of a famous pop song. These are pop songs and rock songs that might clash melodically, but Neil finds ways to kind of just fuse them and just mold them together into this one musical Frankenstein monster. I think this album is a really interesting and awesome exploration of just how much common ground your average pop hit has with potentially thousands of other songs out there. Even though I have a feeling that this project was maybe kind of a short-lived thing for Neil, maybe a bit of a social experiment or some self-indulgence, I hope he doesn't stop, because he's really so good at it. I'm going to just give a light to decent 8 collectively on both of these records. I think they're an incredibly innovative, fun, interesting listen. I'm not going to say there aren't bad, terrible, or annoying parts on these records. There are. But just sort of the strong negative reaction to those parts are a part of the journey. And I will leave it at that. Transition, if you've given these 2 albums a listen, are you still alive? You lived? That's great. What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Mouth sounds, mouth silence, forever.